This doesn't make any sense.
I never get sick. I've never even been in a hospital before, and now I have cancer.
George is not the one that gets sick. I am. Between my knee replacement surgery and my diabetes, George is always taking me to the doctor, not me taking him. This just doesn't make sense.
I solve problems at work, at home, everywhere. I solve people's problems. And now I have to rely on others to solve problems about me.
3 weeks ago, I did a 10K run. Does that sound to you like someone with cancer?
It's harder going to the doctor for George than it is going to the doctor for me. It just seems all wrong.
I don't drink caffeine. I work out 4 times a week. These lips have not touched red meat since 2001. Everywhere I go, I have a water bottle in my hand, and I live my life on this plant-based diet. You've never seen anybody eat fruits and vegetables like I do. And of course, I avoid processed food at all costs. And you know what? There is no history of breast cancer in my family. None. Nowhere. So you tell me, what in the world am I doing with breast cancer?
I don't understand why I have cancer. How am I supposed to explain that to others?
I don't know what I'm going to do about work.
You know, when I get upset about things, I always call my oldest daughter, Cynthia. Now, she's the one that lives across town. She was there for me with my knee replacement surgery and when they messed up my meds. But with this, I can't. George still doesn't want the kids to know.
How do I tell my mom? How do I tell my mom?
The toughest part was telling my sons. Ryan's 20, he's away at college, and Andy, he's 16. There's no good way to tell somebody long distance bad news. We called Ryan up, and he could tell by the tone in my voice that the news wasn't good. I kind of just laid it out there like the doctors did me, and I said, you know, what had happened. And he was really quiet. I listened, I couldn't even hear him breathing. I know he was there, and it kind of hurt that I didn't know exactly what to say, and he wasn't saying anything. But I know that at least that's the worst of it. I got past the worst of that, telling him. Andy didn't take it too well. He was really hurting inside. He's a big guy, 6'1", 230 pounds. He's very tough. He likes to show he's tough, but on the inside, he's not. He's softer. When Andy was young, we'd go fishing. Whenever we caught fish, before we came home, we'd have to let him go. We had to release him because he didn't want to see anything get hurt. I hate seeing what cancer is doing to my boys.
But what if something happens to George?
I am not going to tell my mom. She's just going to want to talk about God, and I am not ready to talk about God.
George's sister Sarah and the husband came over for dinner on Sunday after church. And I made my pork roast with those sweet little apples that George just loves. And of course, Sarah knows about George's condition. So when George mentioned about how long he had been having throat problems, Sarah looked at me and said, "Well, Bonnie, why didn't you take him in to see Dr. Richardson?" I couldn't speak. I couldn't even breathe. I just remember thinking, she knows. She knows this is my fault because I didn't take him in to see the doctor like I should have. And then George said something about how he saw the doctor when he was good and ready. But I kept thinking, if only I'd called the doctor myself. If only I just nagged him a little more. If only I'd recognized the change in his voice a little sooner. If only.
I want a radical mastectomy. I want it all out of me.
I want to have a good testimony. I want people to see my faith.
I just want it over.
The boys don't know I smoked. It was a stupid thing I did. I smoked for 5 years. Years ago, a long time ago. I quit the day that Sharon said she was pregnant with Ryan. And now they tell me that it could be a contributing factor to the cancer. It's just so stupid. Something I did decades ago, is a contributing factor to this disease. My sons know how I feel about smoking. I never told them that I smoked, and now I wonder maybe I should.
Mom wasn't always so into God and church and all that. It started a few years ago. Now she's up at that church all the time. If she knew about my cancer, she would say something like, God uses all things for good. I wish she wouldn't say things like that.
Even now I wake up and for just a moment, I forget about the surgery that's coming up. And when I'm at work, I'm so busy, there's things going on, I don't think about it. But there's those quiet rides home after work that I think about my dad. He was in his 60s when he got cancer, and it was 6 years later when it came back, and that's when we lost him. He didn't really take care of himself. I do. I'm going to beat this cancer.
The doctor says it's a simple surgery and that most of the cancer is on his tonsils. And there's a little spot on the back of his throat. But Jesus has this under control. This is a scary place to be. But Jesus has carried me through scarier places before. You see, between my two daughters, Cynthia and Gail, I had a stillborn child. We named him Robert. He's buried in the cemetery across town next to my mom and my dad. Darkest time of my life. But Jesus carried me through that. And if you don't know what it's like for Jesus to carry you through a dark time, I can't explain it. But I know He'll carry me through this.
I don't even want to think about God.
I've been thinking about God a lot lately.
When I'm praying and thinking about Jesus, I feel fine. And it's not like I think the cancer is gone or anything, but when I'm thinking about Jesus, I feel stronger, just calmer. Perhaps I should think about Jesus a little more.